In the Lyman direction, Russians press forward and are rapidly burning through their forces, attacking Ukrainians from all sides. Holding an active defense, the Ukrainian Third Army Corps is hitting back hard, denying the Russians new territory and taking advantage of their most exposed positions to make new significant territorial gains of their own, according to Euromaidan Press media outlet. It is noted that Russian forces continue to push towards Torske from all sides, but Ukrainian defenders from the 63rd and 60th Mechanized Brigades are defending proactively. They are preventing the enemy from consolidating or entrenching inside the settlement by targeting Russians during their deployment to the front line. In the nearby Serebryanski Forest, Russian troops have pushed deeper through its natural cover to move into Torske by maintaining as small a profile as possible and crawling past Ukrainian positions at night. However, the Russians failed to stay undetected throughout the day. The infiltrators tried to seek cover in the trees but were followed by the armored vehicle and eliminated with another series of devastating shots. Euromaidan Press says, in another engagement involving rarely seen armored vehicles, Ukrainian FPV drone operators destroyed 2 Russian BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicles near Terny, trying to deploy assault groups to attack Torske from the north. Both vehicles became immobilized after hitting mines, and their surviving crew members and dismounted infantry were subsequently eliminated. The loss of both BMPs and their crews halted any momentum the Russians hoped to build in that direction. It underscores the effectiveness of Ukrainian drone warfare in neutralizing even heavily armored targets before they can influence the battle. While Torske holds some tactical value, the Ukrainian command has made it clear they will not sacrifice their men to defend it at all costs. A mobile and active defense posture is essential, prioritizing the lives of soldiers and maintaining the combat capabilities of brigades over clinging to a single defense line. Along the Russian bridgehead across the Zherebets River, the situation is very different. The Russians are overextended, and their most vulnerable positions are constantly under heavy Ukrainian fire without Russian artillery being able to respond without exposing itself on the bank. Euromaidan Press reports, Russian soldiers have to move 15 kilometers on foot at a crawling pace to avoid immediate detection by Ukrainian drones, making any reinforcement attempts costly, slow, and any rapid response impossible. Due to this, Ukrainians were able to conduct a counter-attack and exploit the enemy's weaknesses. Fighters from various brigades within the Third Army Corps recently recaptured Rydkhodub, striking precisely where Russian forces were most exposed. Rydkhodub is now fully cleared of Russian presence, given the logistical difficulties for Russian forces needing to move artillery, drones, and infantry across the river while avoiding constant Ukrainian surveillance. The enemy advance here has to start from scratch. Ukrainian forces in the Lyman sector are solving their issues by not only conducting active defense and efficiently absorbing Russian attacks, but also reclaiming ground whenever opportunities are created. In the Sumy direction, Ukrainian forces have seized the initiative, moving from a defensive posture to a broad counter-offensive that is steadily reshaping the front line. The momentum shift is allowing Ukrainian units to dictate the pace of battle, breaking down Russian cohesion and allowing elite enemy forces to be encircled. Recently, Ukrainian forces started successfully advancing near Kindrativka, Andriivka, Oleksiivka, Yablonivka, Yunakivka. Euromaidan Press media outlet recalls they have been supported by a series of airstrikes against Russian concentrations of forces and effective disruption of enemy reinforcement attempts, with the Russians trying to cross a local lake being targeted by drones. A Russian military analyst embedded with Russian forces in this sector reported that Russians are suffering from glaring issues with defensive cohesion. Fire coordination is ineffective against Ukrainian assaults. Requested reinforcements often never arrive. Counterattacks are delayed by several days. Ukrainian commanders are exploiting these weaknesses with precision, forcing Russians into a defensive posture they cannot maintain. Russia's operational mindset, long focused on continuous offensives, appears to have eroded its ability to mount an effective defense. In pursuit of gains during the summer offensive, Russian commanders committed vast reserves of armor and manpower, leaving little left to plug gaps when momentum stalled. The fighting in Kursk was particularly costly. Armored vehicles were destroyed in huge numbers, forcing Russia to rely on infantry, motorcycles, and small assault teams. Now in Sumy, most Russian soldiers move on foot, taking them days to reach the front line, and they can't respond effectively when Ukrainians attack, Euromaidan Press says. Additionally, North Korean troops were annihilated by Ukrainian cluster munitions, 200 soldiers at a time, and the Russian infantry that remains is exhausted, making the Russian Sumy front thinly manned and dangerously vulnerable. Faced with this unfolding crisis, Russian command has attempted to reinforce the sector with a battalion from the 810th Naval Infantry Brigade tasked with stabilizing Kindrativka. Yet this solution may only compound the problem, as this Russian brigade suffered devastating losses during the Kursk battles and is now believed to be operating at only 35 to 45% of its nominal combat strength. Euromaidan Press reports. Rather than deploying a cohesive, intact battalion, the likely reality is a composite force cobbled together from remnants of different units, a half-hearted measure that further undermines cohesion and interoperability. While these reinforcements may slow Ukrainian advances temporarily, they lack the depth and organization to mount a meaningful defense. Overall, in Sumy Oblast, the narrative has shifted entirely, and what began as a Ukrainian defensive effort has evolved into offensive momentum that is dismantling Russian positions piece by piece. For Russia, the situation is a bitter reversal, as it was just weeks ago that President Vladimir Putin himself issued aggressive statements about pushing into Sumy and even threatening the regional capital. Euromaidan Press says, without fresh reserves or a radical change in operational approach, Russia is poised to lose even more ground, and with it, any lingering credibility in its ability to threaten the city of Sumy again. Ukrainian defensive plans not only absorbed the initial Russian pressure, but have now turned the tide, enabling methodical counterattacks that are pushing Russian forces back across the sector.